Okay, for your homework, you are, as you know, working on page 145 and you are working through all of the problems here. Now, all 8 of these problems have to do with these figures, these little shape figures at the top of the page. So I am going to give you a couple of tips and hints to work through page 145. So hint number 1, read carefully. So the first thing after you consider this figure, we're going to arrange this information in a table. It does tell me exactly how to label the table. So it says label as figure number, and I am going to just abbreviate that a little bit. And it says figure number is N. And the center column, it says, is your process column. And I'm going to go ahead and just switch colors for that. Process. This is that optional work column, really helpful when you are writing your rule. And the last one is number of squares in the figure. Number of squares. And I realize that these columns are not really big enough. It says that's S, so I'm going to put an S on top. So I'm going to start filling this one out with you, and then I'm going to let you finish it up. So we have figure 1, 2, and 3 are pictured above. So I am going to go through figure 1. I'm going to count the number of squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Figure 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you can go ahead and count up figure 3 and list it. After that, you're going to move on to number 2. Number 2 says go ahead and draw figure 4. This one says go ahead and draw figure 4. So can you notice the pattern and draw figure 4? I'm going to point out some things I see. Here's figure 1, about 2 high this way, 2 down the middle, 2 up on the side. Figure 2 grows to go 3 up, 3 down, 3 up. Figure 3 grows to be 4 up, 4 down, 4 up. Notice it goes 2, 3, 4. So we can guesstimate that when we draw figure 4, and it doesn't have to be perfect, this is 2 up, 3, 4. This one is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And of course, I'm going to draw down and I'm going to draw back up the side. Pause it to complete number 2. Number 3 then says go ahead and draw figure 5. So you are going to complete that pattern or follow that pattern yet again. As you move down to number 4, number 4 says to create a graph. We realize, as with the problems we did on Monday, we have no negatives, which means our graph can be created entirely in the first quadrant. Remember, our X values, or in this case, our N values, our input column, figure number goes across the bottom. Guess that's hard to see. I'm in the way a little bit. And our Y values, our output, which in this case is actually S, the number of squares, goes up the side. Remember when you label to space it out. Our figure numbers are just going up by ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Space it out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Space it out. We don't want to cram our graph into a teeny tiny bit of space. Now our number of squares. I haven't completed 4 and 5, figure 4 and 5, but you should have. How large do these need to go? Can we count by ones? If so, great, count by ones. Otherwise, is counting by 2s or 3s more appropriate? Once you have your graph, you have a table, you have a graph, you're going to answer some questions. 5, how many squares to build the 10th figure? Justify your answer means I don't just want to see a number. I want to read in words a Y, or I want to see some math. Writing out some math definitely counts as a justification. Answers the Y. 6, how can you come up with the number of squares needed if you know the figure number? In words, how is the figure number, that first column, how is that related to the output column? In 7, you are going to write me a rule. Remember, it's output equals. So your rule is going to be S equals, what do you do to the n? What do you do to the n to get the number of squares? And then last but not least, which figure number has 60 squares? Which figure number has 60 squares? Squares is S. So we actually know what the answer is. We need to know the input. Now, I realize I went through those hints a little quickly, so if you need to, go back and rewatch this video and pause as necessary, but your goal is to complete this page and submit it on Canvas.